Few games have had an impact on me like Black Souls did. Years ago, I made a video on the duology and why I loved it, and that fondness has only grown stronger with time. It got me to play more weird RPG Maker games like Dark Hero Party, which is also incredible in its own way. While that old Black Souls video of mine was fairly thorough, there's one important thing I neglected to mention, and that's Red Hood's Woods, Toro's first game and could be considered the true start to the series in a way. Back then, I planned to talk about it alongside Dead Red Hood, Toro's upcoming game about Red Hood. It's been a while, and Dead Red Hood is still not out yet, and I wanted to talk about Red Hood's Woods. So I decided to say hell with it and cover them both separately. So it's finally time to talk about Toro's often forgotten debut work, and what makes it so interesting, especially when compared to Black Souls. Red Hood's Woods has you take the role of Red Hood, the very same one from Black Souls. She wakes up alone in her house. Exploring a bit, she finds a note left by her grandmother, saying that she's left for a bit, with a warning for Red Hood to not go into the basement. Naturally, she goes into the basement. In the basement, there are several mirrors that Red Hood enters, which act as the different dungeons to explore. Every time you beat the boss at the end of the dungeon, the next mirror opens up. But Red Hood's Woods is kind of minimalistic in terms of storytelling. There's nothing telling you why you need to explore these mirror worlds, it's just that there's nothing else to do. Black Souls has similar minimalistic storytelling. There's a huge emphasis on atmosphere and exploration, with their narrative you kinda piece together yourself. However, Black Souls also had numerous characters to talk to and get attached to. Red Hood's Woods is only Red Hood and a certain wolf that acts as the shopkeeper you buy items from. The relationship between Red Hood and this wolf is actually a very important part of the narrative, but the game doesn't do the best job at showcasing it. There aren't that many unique interactions between them. I wish there was more. There's hardly much dialogue in the game in general. It really is all about the vibes. There are some positives to there not really being any NPCs. It does add to the desolate, lonesome feeling of the game, which is very fitting for the narrative and Red Hood's character. Red Hood's Woods is so sparse a narrative that I could forgive someone for thinking there wasn't one at all. It lacks a narrative hook, unlike Black Souls 1, which has a nice prologue that makes our objective clear, and Black Souls 2, which has the search for Alice. Trust me, there is a story here, it just doesn't make itself evident until near the end of the game. Much in the same vein as Black Souls 1, there's some cool reveals towards the end that recontextualize how you view the game. It's actually an emotional story about trauma, where Red Hood has to come to terms with her past. The gameplay is also quite funny to me. Remember how ridiculously powerful you can get in Black Souls 1? You can easily get extremely strong there and trivialize the game. The same is true of Red Hood's Woods, but to an even more absurd degree. The main culprit that makes the game so wildly unbalanced are these fruits that you can find by exploring or defeating enemies. These fruits can boost different stats. Different enemies give different fruits. Sounds cool, but the problem is that the game gives you these fruits so frequently, you quickly become a powerhouse. Remember to eat your veggies so you can become strong like Red Hood. With all these fruits and the power boost you get from leveling up, I can't say I had any difficulty in this game at all. If this isn't amusing enough, there's one other major thing that turns combat into a joke. Of course, I'm talking about the starting weapon. I don't think I've seen any other game where the starting weapon is by far the best one. Red Hood finds a knife in the basement, which might sound quaint, but then you see the effect the knife has. The knife has a 10% chance to instantly kill an enemy. Pretty good, right? It gets better. When fully upgraded, it turns into an 80% chance to instantly kill an enemy. This instant kill effect doesn't work on bosses, of course, but it makes random mob encounters trivial and makes it easy to farm fruits. Red Hood might have the mystic eyes of death perception of how she instantly cuts down T-Rexes. There's other weapons you can find, but there's no point to them when the knife is this absurdly strong. If that's not enough, then like in Black Souls, you can find a hidden item in Red Hood's house that can make the game even easier by doubling the experience, drop rates, and money you can get. It's overkill and not necessary to use at all, but it exists so you can get through the game even faster, I guess. You can tell this is Toro's first attempt at making a game because of how unbalanced it is, something he would fix by Black Souls 2, a game that's genuinely challenging and creative in its boss design. Aside from how broken Red Hood can get, the actual gameplay is standard RPG Maker stuff. Combat exploration encompasses most of the game, but the combat isn't exactly engaging. While basic, I think it works for the short length of the game without getting too tiresome. Speaking of early attempts, you can also tell this is Toro's early art. It looks a bit more rough than Black Souls 1, but it's still distinctly Toro. He has such a distinct style that it's interesting to compare his artwork here to his more modern drawings for Dead Red Hood, which look rad as hell. While not as refined as Toro's modern art, the game still looks pretty nice and unique. I think the game having so few CGs is a little disappointing. However, I know it's to be expected from such a short game. I wish there was one or two more. There's only one non-H scene CG, and while it's a cool one, at least one more would have been appreciated. Speaking of H scenes, yes, the game does have some sexual content similar to Black Souls. Like Black Souls, they can be largely avoided, aside from a few story scenes in the late game. These optional H scenes are weird because you can only get them by losing to bosses. The bosses are so easy that you shouldn't be losing anyway. Kinda makes you wonder why they exist at all when they're so easily missable. I didn't even know they existed until after I finished the game. They're not exactly arousing either, they simply exist. Thankfully, Tora stepped up his arrow game by Black Souls. The levels are interesting if you've played the Black Souls games before. Some of them are eerily similar to areas that are in Black Souls 1 and 2, like one mirror world which is very similar to the Empire in Black Souls 1, or the mirror world that's the same as the Mushroom Forest in Black Souls 2. These feel like early ideas for the environments that are elaborated more in those games. It was neat seeing them here. I must admit, I hate the snow level here. It was just a lot of aimless wandering trying to figure out the specific location where I was supposed to be to find Red Hood's memory when the area is way too big. Certainly the lowest point in the game. Though the narrative revelations were interesting, the level design killed me. The music is also pretty good. You'll notice tracks that will be reused in Black Souls. Red Hood is the main character of the game, so let's talk about her a bit. In Black Souls, she's characterized as being a stoic, cool young woman. She's one of the most beloved characters in the series. Even Tora loves her, which is why he started the whole series with a game about her. However, in Red Hood's Woods, she isn't characterized that well. This is due to how short the game is and how little dialogue there is. She still does have a few really good lines, especially towards the end. Her deadpan delivery and reactions to most things does make her an endearing character. This game does explain why Red Hood is such a strange and emotionless girl. You get glimpses of her backstory that are what causes her current situation in the game. And her past, of course, influences her behavior here, as well as Black Souls. I believe the revelations about her character towards the end, but also that gave me a greater appreciation for her role in Black Souls 2. In Black Souls 2, she's given an even larger role than in 1, and in the context of Red Hood's Woods give that role greater meaning. I'll elaborate on what I mean later. The only other character of note here is the wolf that acts as the shopkeeper of the game. Black Souls fans will probably guess that this is Poro. He doesn't get much character until near the end, but there's some really good stuff that made me like him when I didn't care too much about him before. You can see why Red Hood and Poro are such a deep bond in Black Souls. They complement each other pretty well. Poro has an almost childish naivety and sincerity, which is contrasted against Red Hood's colder personality. While she can be stoic, Poro is one of the few she shows her softer side too. If Black Souls is Dark Souls-like, Black Souls 2 is Bloodborne-like, and I suppose Red Hood's Woods can be described as Demon Souls-like. In an obvious way, it is both their respected creators' first attempt at directing a game, and they're both a bit rough around the edges while still charming. Even the game design in Red Hood's Woods is somewhat reminiscent of Demon Souls. Red Hood's house acts as a hub area to stock up on items and travel to different worlds, which reminded me a bit of the Nexus from Demon Souls. The way Red Hood upgrades weapons is also like in Demon Souls. Red Hood also has a limited amount of healing flasks that you need to refill in the hub, but you can also find more in the world to increase how many you have on you at once. This is actually how healing works in Dark Souls, but the healing grass in Demon Souls isn't as interesting. I can see why Tora went with that approach. From the beginning, Tora was inspired by the Souls games, which I think speaks to how much those games can capture the imagination. Miyazaki inspires Tora, and Tora inspires me. That's all I have to say about the game without going into spoilers. The rest of the video will have me going in depth about the story and how it relates to Black Souls. So in summary, I'd say that Red Hood's Woods is a must-play for Black Souls fans. With it being so short and easy, there's not a good excuse not to play it. It'll give you a greater appreciation for Red Hood and how far Tora has come as a creator. For people who haven't played Black Souls, this is technically what you should start with. If the jank does scare you, Black Souls 1 is a much more engaging hook, but make sure to play Red Hood's Woods before Black Souls 2. You can get the game on DLSite, like with Black Souls. Unfortunately, DLSite has become much more annoying to buy things from because payment processors are literally evil. You just have to jump through more hoops to buy things, but it is possible. Anyway, spoilers ahead, so be aware if you haven't played Red Hood's Woods and Black Souls. Okay, so towards the end it's revealed that the whole game is essentially Red Hood's dream, created to escape from reality and coupled with killing her grandfather and indirectly her grandmother. She slowly regains her memories and comes to realize what has happened to her. When she finally understands everything, she rejects the dream world, even though it would have been easier to stay in the delusion when reality has never been kind to her. However, she believes that she has to face reality, that retreating into a dream world would be irresponsible. The final boss of the game is her grandmother, which is actually a manifestation of the guilt Red Hood feels over causing her death. She faces her past sin in the most literal way and overcomes it, and assumedly is able to return to her reality. Knowing about how Red Hood's trauma caused her to unconsciously create this dream world and ultimately reject it makes her role in Black Souls 2 even more poignant. In Black Souls 2, she can only be seen when Grim is at 0 cent or lower. She exists as a complete rejection of Wonderland and seeks to help Grim come to his senses. Grim is in a somewhat similar situation to how she was in Red Hood's woods. He's trapped in an endless cycle of torment. A large part of Wonderland being the way it is because of the Crawling One's influence. I believe the way Grim chooses to interpret the world at Hy-Sen could be seen as his own escapist fantasy. He's haunted by the trauma of what he did at the end of the first game, as evident by numerous scenes in the game. His desire to save Alice, while again being because of the Crawling One, could also be seen as his genuine desire to save someone, something he's unable to do for any of the heroines of the first game. At Hy-Sen, Grim sees Red Hood as a monster because she's a part of his past that he doesn't want to face, so he deludes himself into seeing her that way. Red Hood is the only one that can understand what Grim is going through, precisely because of her experience in Red Hood's woods. Her determination to face reality, even when it's hard, even knowing that only death awaits her in reality, makes her the perfect foil to Wonderland. She denies the dreamlike nature of Wonderland, her feet firmly planted in reality. She's the one person who can save Grim and disrupt the Crawling One's plans. This is all because of how her character develops in Red Hood's woods. It's a perfect evolution of her character. Aside from Red Hood, her grandmother is also a fairly important character in Black Souls, where she's called Elizabeth. What's most intriguing to me is her brief appearance in Black Souls 2. You have a fight against her that mirrors the one at the end of Red Hood's woods, in a way. It even reads the same battle sprite. Red Hood once again faces off against a powerful figure from her past, and lays to rest her inner turmoil. Except now she has Grim to support her. This scene also parallels Black Souls 1, where Red Hood asks Grim if she should confront Elizabeth. This decision is up to the player, but in Black Souls her confrontation with Elizabeth is entirely her own decision. This is to show her growth and determination to lay her past to rest. In conclusion, Red Hood's Woods is a cool game. You can tell that Red Hood is Tora's favorite character, and it's easy to see how much love he's put into her. She's probably my favorite in the series too, but Leaf is a close second because of how pathetic she is. It's endearing. Anyway, Red Hood's Woods is essential to her character and important to Tora as well, considering it marked his start as a game developer. It's a game that's rough around the edges, but it has soul. A soul as black as sin. I can't wait to see what Tora is cooking with Dead Red Hood. What further tragedies will this girl endure? I'm extremely excited for it. Even just looking at the CGs Tora has released is mesmerizing. It's incredible how much his art has evolved since Red Hood's Woods. I hope it releases this year, but I said that last year too. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching, and thanks once again to my good friend Chestnut Rants for helping with the script.